is there a screwdriver on it?
It wasn't any of my business.
I feel like it's did I tell you, like, so, did I ever tell you this story? I ever since I got cameras on my house, it all stopped. The weirdest damn things kept happening to my house.
Okay.
Like, and it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was during the election for the local stuff, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. All I know is that there was a Halloween skull, like that you would get from Walgreens, like the little plastic ones.
Right.
And it had a knife slit in its forehead, and it was on my yard one day. Like, and it wasn't buried, you know? And then, like, every other day or so, for like 3 or 4 weeks, I would get in my car, and it would be my competitor's radio station on, and I'm like, no, like, I don't do that. I don't listen, because I don't listen to radio. So I'm like, why is my radio even on? And I'm like, no, I had it on 550. I didn't have it on this.
That's
weirdest
so
stuff.
Creepy.
Yeah. So
How
anyway,
do you have cameras now?
Yeah. I don't know how we got on that topic.
Screwdriver.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I might need to get a camera down here. Well, someone stole my darn couch. Did you see that?
Well, out there?
Yeah. Remember I had a smaller couch?
Yeah.
I just Pat took it.
Yeah.
I thought Pat took it. I go, where's the couch? He goes, CJ, where's your couch at? And I go, I don't know. I thought you took it somewhere. Come to find out, they just decided whoever did it thought, let's put it in the back corner of this vault. I don't want to touch it anymore.
No, yeah.
Welcome in. That was my rant. I've been waiting for this one.
I will not be sitting on that couch either.
This one's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'm like, why are we moving? Like, there's only one reason you would move a couch. Like, I'm sorry, but and if you have to go through so much effort to move, like, if that's the, why do it in the first place? Go home. Sorry.
100 years ago.
Maybe they were doing that in this building 100 years. This building's 100 years old.
Well, you know what? I'm sure they were.
It was a bank.
And there's a vault, as you just mentioned. I mean, and they didn't have cameras back then. You could get away with a lot more stuff 100 years ago.
Yeah, but that's true. That is so true. You know, everyone thought that, Meemaw and Pawpaw were just, so sweet, innocent, 90-year-old people. And little did you know, they were not doing keg stands. They were doing those on handles of Jack Daniels. And, life was fun. But my whole point is, like, it was just like, it's been weird lately.
Yeah.
And so I came in, long story short, and I'm like, why the hell is there a screwdriver out on the desk? And I've been using it to draw. Like, I can write my name in the...
Found a purpose for it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, if you're going to get me a screwdriver out here, it might as well be the drink, Like, I don't want this.
This is not the screwdriver that I would prefer.
Unless someone's telling me to screw off or something, I don't know.
I feel like if you're having to read that much into it, maybe it's innocuous.
Oh. I don't know if that's the right size.
Yeah, I don't either.
Anyway, the St. Louis Auto Show.
St. Louis Auto Show. So... I couldn't believe how long that had been going on, because 100 years ago in 1926 was the 19th annual auto show, which means that they'd been doing them since 1907? Wow. That's crazy. Like, how many cars would you have even had in 1907?
That was like, is that when they still had to crank the car, probably?
I feel like it had to have been.
Because they had the engine cranks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so, because they had just gotten electric starters? Is that what it is, so that you didn't have to crank it anymore?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a car guy. I don't even act like I know anything about that.
I should have asked Jeff more questions before I came in and tried to talk about how cars work. But yeah, it was the 19th annual show. And so it was the first one at Union Market. And that is a building owned by the city of St. Louis. It's now on the National Register of Historic Places. But at the time, it had just been built. It was constructed in 1924 to 1925. So that was the first auto show there. And the one the year before had been at the 18th Street Garage. So it was a big deal to have it at Union Market, because Union Market was 4 stories. So the first floor was a literal market. Like there were different stalls and it was apparently very fancy. And I can't remember if this was the Telegraph or the St. Louis Star and Times, because I got articles from both. But I had a quote that it was occupied, the first floor was occupied by the most magnificently equipped market in the world, which, as we know, that's like saying the parade was the most well-attended event in Alton ever. Like sometimes there's a little bit of hyperbole there.
A 45-minute standing ovation is what I receive every morning when this show starts.
Yeah, just like that. So I don't know if it was
publication,
in the world, but apparently a just beautiful market with lots of stalls, food, and I assume other things. And they kept that open during the auto show too, so that people could enjoy it. I'll record myself applauding for you, and you can put it on loop in the mornings if you want to, CJ.
No, it's. I mean, I just wanted to make sure people knew. Like, I do get the amount of ovation. That's part of the analytics. Newspapers were interesting. I think it's so funny because we always hear the term like fake news now, and all that fun stuff. But like back then, like go back as far as you want. History was really told by the person that won,
Yes.
And it was, I don't like our new phone system. There's no way I can turn that off.
Oh, that's annoying.
I don't know how to silence that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is though, like, I can't you can't really, not all the history is really told from both sides.
Right. Oh, 100%.
And so, like, when I think about, like, and this is totally off subject, but, like, we were talking about that, it's like, we were thinking, just the other, like, with the presidential elections of, like, the early early 1800s, all the way up, like, how they basically had paid off writers that just formed publications and, like this. So, like, when we look back, like, it might say, oh, this was there was 4,000 people there.
I would trust the numbers.
Would you trust the numbers?
I would trust the numbers. I wouldn't trust that because I think that they had this sort of language of like, it was the most brilliant. But I think if they had numbers during this time period, because there's no real benefit to lying about that. I agree with you about fake news, but
my point is, though, it would be a marketing tool because, like, to me, I'm not just going to say it's a big crowd.
Well,
I'm going to say it's 2,200 people and get you out there the next year.
But I think the next year, that's too long of a wait.
You think so?
I think if it was like the next day.
That makes sense. See, that's what I was curious about because to me, I would always do the long game with it. I think people don't think that far back a lot of the time. They wouldn't be like, because they wouldn't remember those numbers. They would remember it was big, but they wouldn't be like, it's 22,000 people, so I'm definitely going to show up this time. I like that.
That's what I think. But I will say this. So yeah, I think it was very much an exaggeration that it was the most beautiful market in the world. I think the numbers are probably as close as they could get. I mean, they can't do it exact. They can figure out how many people could fit in a space. But they're not going to have like door counters the way that we would now. At least not like automatic door counters. However, I agree with you about the fake news thing, but I think we did kind of have this still biased, still only telling certain perspectives, but we did have a time period where there was more nonpartisan neutral news in the 1900s.
Well, I could see that.
Pretty recently, because yes, you had the like paid newspaper stuff you were talking about, and then now we have very separate news sources. Oh,
I get what you're saying. Because that's what I would say. And really though, like the thing with like the president. Like FDR controlled that press pool. If they wanted to at any time, they could have truly shown what the president's state was.
That's true.
So that's what I'm going with it. Where I'm not saying it's for the necessary bad. It's just, is it actually true? Were they being 1,000% transparent? And if not, is that really were they really doing the mission of what their job was detailed?
That's a really good point. And I think that Yes, I think that's
what I thought about the other day. It's like such a very fascinating thought because it's obviously not good to show a president, at the time I'm sure in their head, totally listen to that because it's respectful and makes sense.
Yeah.
But like just for this point, like what if the people did know? Would he have been a 4-term president?
That's a good question.
What would the war have looked like? Like if Dewey won.
Right. Well, and I mean that's true too. Of like if it's for the. Well, I don't know.
It's just a thought that I had.
I was thinking more like it used to be that everybody watched the same nightly news.
Yeah, no. I get what you're saying there.
Like we were getting this, even if we interpreted it in different ways, we were getting a similar news report versus now you often listen to what you think is the truth.
Yeah, I like that. Rounded it back nice. So back to your story that I haven't even talked about yet. Sorry about that. So it was where was this held? Union Market?
Yes, Union Market in St. Louis.
And so what building is it still there?
It's still there. Yeah, it's I don't know what it is now. It's still owned by the city of St. Louis. Okay. It's still known as Union Market. It's on the Register of Historic Places. So originally it was a market on the bottom, and then I don't think I said this, the top 3 floors were parking garage. Wow. They needed it all of a sudden. That makes sense. So that's why they built it. So from what I could tell, it's always been a government building from the very beginning. So I think it was built because they had more cars downtown than ever before. Yeah. And so they needed more public parking space. And then it has just it's I don't know if it's just parking anymore, but it does still exist. You can still see it.
Interesting. And what I think is fascinating, I mean, they spent a mint on this darn
show.
Did. 330, or you put it in there, $363,000 in today's money to put this on. Yeah. And now, it's so fascinating though, because, you described what was on display, but 2 great glass-lined thermos bottle milk trucks were also on display. I guess that was like the big deal at the time. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, they made sure to mention that. I think it's in both. Yeah, it's in the ad, and it was also in the article.
Wow.
And so I assume it was to show dairies what some options were for the top of the line milk transportation of the time. Probably related to the pasteurization and other things we've been talking about recently of what was going on then. You would need new technology to transport milk because they'd worked really hard to make sure it was safe at the dairy. So then you want to make sure that it's being transported in a safe manner as well. So that's my guess as to why they really emphasized that. But yeah, one of the things that is kind of shocking to me is how many different kinds of cars were available then. There were way more makes of automobiles. So I saw a couple of different numbers, 40 to 50. And there are all these cars that we don't have anymore. So Star and Gray and Duesenberg no longer exist. Yeah. And if you go to the auto show now, because the St. Louis Auto Show does still exist, I looked it up and I think there were 20 makers instead of 40 to 50. Wow. So it's kind of interesting to look at the difference. Way more people obviously have cars now, but there are fewer options in terms of the make and model.
Yeah. Well, and that's why because that's what I was typing in, and then all of a sudden it's boom, boom, boom. It's so fascinating because there was hundreds of independent car manufacturers.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then, as you were talking, I kind of did just a little bit of I kind of had an idea of why, because the Great Depression and, you had mass production that really came into play, the properties of B. But really a combination of the perfect storm, plus you had the band of, really 8 that stuck together in a way that still were competitors, but kind of like the old monopolies of oil, and the powers that be wrote it out, and it was just interesting how that really went from here to boom.
Well, and even recently we lost a lot of car brands.
We don't even know what a Plymouth is anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Grand Marquis, or not a Grand Marquis. What was the one that was the Ford Explorer? Remember that? But it wasn't.
Man. Yeah.
It was but you know what I'm saying? All these things that even from our generation that are completely gone, that probably are never going to be heard of again, and are, never even thought of again too.
Right. Your like childhood car is going to be in a car museum somewhere, and that'll be the only place you can see it.
What was the takeaway, I guess, from this?
Just how excited people were.
So were they really? They were. That's what I think was my biggest question, because I read the article, I skimmed it, not read it earlier today, and that's what my thought was. Were people around here going like, man, this is great that we're seeing this happen in front of us, or was it kind of like still the old school way of like, it's a fad type of thing?
I think it was exciting because Do
you get what I'm saying by that? Does that sound stupid for me to say? I mean, now that I say it,
so.
because like I get that we're in the 20s now and it's not 1906 and cars are been established, but to me there's still like those people that would be like me going, oh, that'll be over with in a couple of more years, or like TV, like everyone, oh, that's a fad and will die out.
I don't think that by 26 they were thinking that cars were going to be fad, because we've got like the automobile associations and they're working on the roads and they're starting to introduce lights. It
was people just had to deal with it at that point.
I think so.
That's what I was curious about. I didn't know where we were in the world yet, where people, because I didn't know like if we were up to date yet or we were still kind of catching up.
You know what was funny? There were a couple of things that I read where I couldn't tell if it was real or if it was like a funny thing that they were putting in that was like a joke that people would understand at the time, but that I just didn't understand. So I had to be really careful about what
That's for the interview. I'm not in trouble.
Oh, no. I'm trying to remember this because I wrote it a week and a half ago, but it was called like, they were like, and one of the cars is a honeymoon special that has seats that fold down and a place to put your champagne. And I was like, I don't think that's a real car, but I don't know. So like there were little like funny descriptions of cars where I didn't know if it was real or not, because I'm not in 1926.
Very fast.
But I don't think.
I like this one. This was a fun one. And we got to go down a rabbit hole to start off the...
Well, yeah, we did. Well, and it kind of goes full circle with the honeymoon special car. And then also they made it super fancy. They like put drapes and electric lights and stuff too. So it was like, it was an event. Like I think you would dress up and go to this because there were fancy cars. Yeah.
What's on the agenda for you this weekend, Lacy?
God. For my next article?
Well, for both, or just you in general. We'll talk about the article last. Anything fun planned?
No. I hope how's the weather supposed to be? Is it going to be bad?
If you define bad as rainy in Seattle, yes.
So this is the time of year where I am like counting down until April 1st, because that's when the Nature Institute trails open. And
I thought you had a good joke.
Oh, no. And yeah, it's like, it's April Fool's Day, but no, for me, it's the TNI trails. This is like opening season, like opening baseball season for everybody else is like trails opening season for me. So I'm like, if it's nice weather, I start to get antsy.
I like it. What's your article on?
It's really sad.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this. But
hit me with it.
Okay, you know those bear cubs that were at the filling station?
Yeah.
I found out what happened to them.
Oh my God.
They both died. That's the article. I was trying to find something to write about for this week, and I was looking through the newspaper, and then I found an article about one of them dying, which I looked for these when I was doing the
Sarah McLachlan was pissed.
I know. It was so bad. It was horrible. And I read it and I was like...
It's not, but in the arms of the angel can only do so much. That wasn't even invented by then.
No, but I mean, it was the same sort of like, don't keep a bear cub at a filling station.
Who would allow this to happen?
Well, now you wouldn't be able to, which is good that we have laws, but... It was devastating. It was very, very sad. And I decided if I was going to be very, very sad, then everybody else had to be very sad too. Sorry.
That a way to do it, Lacy.
Well, also, I mean, I did wonder at the time, and I'm sure other people did too, I think, what happened to the bear cubs. And so I figured I would tell everybody, but it's a sad article. You might want to skip this one.
We won't though.
I mean, we're going to talk about it and I wrote it, but it's sad.
It is sad. Lacy, thanks for stopping by.